Hey guys, welcome back. I am actually now using a new screen recorder, so I'm sorry if there's any glitches in that, but otherwise, thumbs up, right? Alright, during our last tutorial, tutorial 7, part 5, I had gone through and I'd created, I'm sorry, let me back up. I had created tutorials 6, 7, and 8, as well as tutorial 8, 1, and 2, and all of them had no audio. So I went back and I found the problem, and the problem was that there was a problem with my screen recording software, and apparently after you lapse a certain point, then they start cutting off the audio. So that's why I've switched recorders now. So we're going to try to backtrack. I've already done all the coding for those, so I'm just going to go back. I'm going to try to explain the coding to you so that you can understand that. I don't want to go back and redo it all since it took a little bit, but it's still good to come back here and just kind of review the changes with you. You'll be able to see the differences of what I've done, but what we had done thus far was to display the scene, to then process the enter key and so on that you press, but what we were not doing was rendering the contents of the details pane. Or we were, but we were only displaying the name of the recipe and the icon for it, but we weren't displaying any of the ingredients or anything. So we had created a ingredient, we had created this method here called draw ingredients, but I hadn't put anything in it yet. So here's what I had come up with. The ingredients here is basically we go up here, we use the method that we created under the module to reference the recipe ID, and that it returns that double array of ingredients, and then within that we draw the fact that it is ingredients, and then we go through each of those. This here is just a counter to say how many we've done, and once we have confirmed that all of the required ingredients are how many we do have, then we set a flag for can cook, which means that we actually view from the scene to determine whether or not we can allow you to continue to the next step of fashioning that that mill or whatever it is that you're making. So inside of here, we've gone through, we've said here that we want to go through each of the ingredients within the ingredient list, and then we set the Y position starting at 160Y plus the line height times by the item. The reason we do the line height times by the item is so that for every item we go down one more line. And so here we fetch the name of, or I'm sorry, the ID of the ingredient, and then we use that in order to determine the item. And then we ask, how many do I have in my possession? And if your in possession is greater than, I'm sorry, is less than the required amount, so this here is the required amount, then we set the font color to this disabled color. And then once we do that, then we go back down here and we draw the text for that, and that would be that it displays the item name, it displays how many you have in your possession, and the ingredient number that is required of you for that item. And then once we do that, we just reset the color back to normal color so that it will be good for the next one, so we don't have to set normal color and the disabled color each and every time. So we go through and we do that, and then we go through each and every time that you do meet all the requirements, then we update this counter here, and if that counter equals the total number of required ingredients, then we set that flag for can cook. Alright, so after that I went down to the scene, and we went through and said update details. Here we said if we cannot cook, as in that you did not meet the details of it, then it would play the buzzer and return you back to the scene as if nothing had happened. However, if you did succeed, then we played the decision, we would gather your ingredient list, and then we'd make you lose those items, and then we came to a stop because we didn't have any method to actually cook it. we had to go through and decide whether or not we needed to have a timer or something along those lines. So I created this method here called start cooking. If we go back up and look at the method here, we just set a flag saying, yes, I've started, the amount of time I need to cook, how long I've currently elapsed, and the claim time. Now if we come back up here, we added a couple new methods to the module. Here's the cooking time, which in turn is the claim time. And this is how long you must wait in frames in order to claim that particular item. And then here we set a buffer so that you don't have to claim it right on the 200th frame, because that'd be pretty difficult. So I gave you a buffer of 30 on either side of the 200 claim so that you could have a full 60 frames or 1 second in order to claim that item. Otherwise you would lose it and it would go away. Now if you tried to claim it before that, we have to just destroy the items and say, sorry, you failed to create the recipe. But if you do claim it within that, you receive it and it will display a message. And if you go beyond it, you still get to claim it, but it returns the burnt variation of that item. So with all of that, we go back down here to the start cooking method, and we created a new update method. So the update method here in the past didn't exist. So we added that, and we said call the super version. So that is the window base, or in this case I think it's window selectable variation, which does its update checking and so on. But then after that we said let's go ahead and determine the width of the window, and we're going to figure out how to draw a little bar that will display how much we've filled out and so on. And when you are within that claim area, then during that time it switches the color to this green color, and if you waited too long, then it checks to see whether or not you waited too long, so it's burnt instead, so then it'll set that flag. Otherwise it would set the can claim to false, and then it would set the gauge color to whatever it is during that time. And then we would go through and draw that. Each time the window is updated, we'd update this elapsed counter, so the next time it goes through and updates, it comes back through and says, alright, well now I'm a little bit further. I redefine my buffer, and then I look back and find out whether or not I can claim it. If I can, I set this to true. If I can't, then I go and I set these things. And so it would continuously update this information each and every frame. Now once you hit the maximum frame, which is 1000, and you know what, actually I never added anything for the maximum. I just said, well, divided by the max. I guess there was no method for saying, alright, you don't have to click anything, it's just going to automatically boot you off because you just ignored it. So it's just going to stay in that scene until you click something, which is totally fine. So what we're going to do is just go through, we're going to play test it here real quick and just show you what we've done. Alright, now if you noticed, I actually animated that onto the screen, and I'll get to that. That was originally our tutorial number 8. So that was originally in tutorial number 8, so I just wanted to check up on that, see where we were going, and I'll actually go back through that again so that you can see that. But in the meantime, here you can see that we are displaying the ingredients, we are displaying the description, we are displaying the icon for that, we are down here displaying the ingredients, how many you need, the total number of them, and whether or not you can or cannot cook, and we get the appropriate buzzer, etc. when you try to access that when you shouldn't. Now when we do cook something, we say cook, and it does this little bar across the bottom, and it turns green when you can claim it, and then it goes back to regular, and you can claim it at any time during that. So that would allow you to go ahead and claim the item, but in this case I burnt it, so you received a stuff, which is just the item we defined that you should receive. But if we go and wait between that, we say cook, you now receive the high potion, And we need how many of those? 3, I think? 2 or 3 for the next one. Let's go through and cook another one here. And one more. Alright, but we still have not gained our level. We're going to do one more. We screwed it up, but we still got the experience for it. So I'll go back through on showing you how we did that. And so now I can cook the full potion. And if I mess up on the full potion, or as in I burn it, so let's go ahead and cook it right there. Here, I can claim a full potion, but now, if I claim it, it's only going to give me a regular potion. A regular potion. And there we can see we've got one of both of the items, but we don't have enough in order to do the recipe, so it disables the cook function. So, I'm going to be posting the script out there so that you guys can follow up on it and get the full contents. There's quite a few other things that I've done in here. They all should be pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go back and I'm going to comment the code and everything, but before I do that, I just want to go back through. We're going to show you how to animate the window in and off the screen. So I'm actually going to clear out the animation stuff and we're going to redo it again so that you can see that from the beginning. Let me just check my timer down here to see how much longer we've got. Alright, so it looks like we've got about 8 minutes left, so let's go ahead and keep on going. Alright, what we're going to do is go ahead and remove out the animate functions. We're just going to get rid of them entirely, and then I'll go back through and describe it as we do it. That way you can follow along with that and understand exactly how they're done, why they're done. Alright, so here is our animate in and our post start. So, and our pre-animate in and that method. Alright, so what we did here is we said we want to create a new, or as I had said originally in the beginning, we said the post start and pre-terminate were for the functions where you wanted to do something fancy with your scene, either to come into the scene or to leave the scene. And this is where we do our window animation. So what we are going to do is we are going to add a couple of new methods. The first one is going to be prepare animate in, and this is going to obviously be a method, and inside of here we are going to set all of our variables and so on that we're going to use for the animate in. Okay, so the easiest way to do the animation in is to take the each of the windows that needs to be displayed, decide where they're going to come into the scene, and then take and adjust their current position by some variable, and then move or bring them back off or onto the screen. So we can do that. I generally like to do it in about 10 frames. So the first one we're going to do is the title screen, the one up across the top that displays cooking and the level. So from this one we are going to have it move in from the top. So what we need to do is minus its X, or its Y value by its current size, because of course it is right at the top of the screen, so all we have to do is move it up its entire height and then it will be there. So all we got to do is say the Y minus the title.height, and that is it. It will move it off of the screen. Okay, we'll go ahead and repeat this now for the list and the details windows. And the list window is off of the left hand side, so we're going to do the X variable on it, and we're going to minus its width since we want it to go off to the left. And then the details is to the right, so we're going to push it further to the right in order to bring it back into the scene, and we're going to push that with its width as well. Okay, so now we've gone through and we just said, alright, push it off of the screen by that amount. Okay, so we know the distance is always going to be its width. So now we can go back and we can say post start. This is where we go and we actually bring it back onto the screen. So this is pre pre-showing the scene because that is part of the start method. So start calls create windows, which in turn calls pre-animate in, which takes the windows and pushes them off of the sides. And then after it does that, it transitions into the scene, and then we are going to do the animate in. So this is where we do animate in. Okay, we're just going to call this as a method, and oops. So here is going to say timer equals, and we'll do 10, or we could do 20 or any other number you want. But what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to say while timer is greater than 0, then we are going to take the title.y. You know what, let's just grab all of those. We're going to bring all of these ones over, but the difference is we're going to reverse the sign because we want to bring them back onto the scene now, and we're going to divide this by the total timer time. Now you don't want to put divided by timer because then you would actually get progressively less. So you want to make sure, or I'm sorry, progressively more, because you're dividing by a smaller number each time. But what you want to do is just make sure that it is a constant number equal to what you're setting your timer as. Okay, and then after that we go ahead and we say timer minus equals 1. Okay, now the thing though is that that's going to move them onto the scene, and then it's going to break, but you're not going to see it. So the only way to see it is to update your graphics. So we're going to say graphics.update, and then we'll let it go through and do its thing. And once it gets done, it will automatically dispose of itself, so to speak, and it will go on to the next method, and we'll be good. Okay, so now we're going to repeat this same thing for the animate out. So we're just going to copy that. We're going to come down here to the pre-terminate, and we're going to say animate out. Okay, we're going to paste that in there. Alright, now that we've got that in there, we're going to again reverse our signs because we want to move it off of the scene again, and then we're going to just leave it at the same times, and that's it. So let's go ahead and test it out. Alright, let's go up here and talk to him down here, and I'm getting a method error, width for nil class. What that means is I probably misspelt something. Details with an S. And that means because I copied and pasted it, I've got it down here too. And we should be good now. Let's try it again. Okay. Plus equals cooking details. Did we not specify? We did not specify. .x. I'm just all over this, aren't I? .x. One more down here. .x. Width for nil class again. Details. Alright, hopefully I got them all this time. There we go, and as you saw, it animated onto the scene. So that should be pretty much it. Just wanted to show you guys that. The next tutorial we're going to go over a couple of new things. Mostly we're just going to cover what are the things you need to do after completing a script. So that's where we're going to end this one. Again, we'll catch you guys later. See ya.